shoe print in the dust that you hadn't been able to see for lack of training and experience, true?
Yes, sir.
And, well, my question is, whether the crime scene that you were walking on as you went back up that walkway with Officer Risky was being protected in that fashion.
I believe the whole scene was being protected. Yes.
How did you get from the front to the back?
Well, we had to get there some way.
And so you walked.
We walked the best path that we could to determine at that time.
Yeah. Being careful to avoid the bloody footprints and what you thought might be drops of blood.
Yes, sir.
Now on another subject. My understanding is that you were instructed by someone last fall to watch the Larry King show.
No, that was this year.
Oh. Well, did you ever meet a woman that looks like the lady on the Larry King show by some other name?
No.
And what she was discussing was fairly outrageous conduct, is it not?
Yes, sir.
And if you had engaged in that conduct with the woman whose image you were looking at, that's not something you would soon forget, is it?
No.
Now, if we may, let's return to the crime scene. You're making notes when at around 2:50, Detective Phillip tells you you're out of the case. True?
Yes, I don't know the exact time, but yes.
Had it dawned on you by 2:50 a.m., Detective Furman, that this was a case of some magnitude?
Any double homicide is.
Have you ever been involved in a murder case that attracted the national media prior to this one?
No.
And had it not been for an order from on high, you would have been perfectly content to go forward and take charge of this investigation as field man, correct?
Yes.
And it was never your intent to ask the big boys from robbery homicide to come help you, was it?
At that time, no.
Now, did you experience any disappointment when Phillips told you you were being removed from this murder case?
Well, I was disappointed we lost the case.
Weren't you a little bit angry that you were being shoved out of a murder in your own territory?
No.
What? Now, weren't you a fellow that had spent a good part of his career waiting for an opportunity to make, quote, the big arrest?
Objection.
What is the objection?
Can we approach?
What is the objection? What is the legal grounds?
Beyond the scope, it's also, we need to approach.
I'm sorry, what is the objection? Beyond the scope, is that it?
Yes.
Overruled.
Do you recall that?
Would you repeat what you asked me, please?
Do you recall, in your evaluation as an officer, the criticism that you were too much interested in making the big arrest?
No.
What did you do between 2:50 a.m. and 4:05 when Philip Van Adder and Thomas Lang showed up on the scene?
Waited for their arrival on the street in front of the residence.
In other words, the whole homicide solution process ground to a halt. Is that true?
At that moment, waiting for them, yes.
You were disabled to take any steps whatsoever that you otherwise would have taken if you were left in charge for that hour and 10-minute period. Is that the rule in your department?
Yes, I was relieved of the case.
From 2:50 to 4:05, as I understand your testimony, you went to the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy and stood there?
That's correct.
Did you go back to the crime scene?
No.
Did you make any more observations?
At one time, I did make an observation from the north residence.
Oh. Well, I don't recall you mentioning that in your direct examination, did you?
I believe I did, sir.
Well, tell us about it. What did you do from the north residence?
Lieutenant Spangler had walked to the north residence of 875 South Bundy and looked between the iron fence that was about 3 or 4 feet from the feet or buttocks area of the male victim. And he noticed a portion of bare skin, and he said, "You can see some type of wound there." And he directed me to go over there, and I did, and I looked at it, and it appeared to be a laceration of some sort.
Do you know what time it was when you made that observation?
Probably somewhere right after 3:30.
Long after you were off the case, then.
Yes.
All right. Well, then did you not spend the entire time down at the intersection waiting for Misters Van Adder and Lang?
Except for that, no.
Did Lieutenant Spangler come with you to the location whose view he had commended you to?
No, I do not believe so.
You believe you were alone at that point?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have your little flashlight?
Yes.
Did you use it?
Yes.
Now, is that the sum total of the observations you made on that little excursion? You saw a knife wound, and that's it.
Yes, sir.
Nothing else.
I don't believe so, no.
How about a pair of gloves, Detective?
Excuse me?
Did you see a couple of gloves up there?
No. No, I saw one glove.
Now, you didn't mention that a minute ago when I asked you if you'd seen anything else. You now say you saw one glove.
Well, I had already talked about the one glove and the hat.
Well, you hadn't talked about this excursion before, I don't believe, but I asked you if you saw anything other than a laceration, and you said no.
I thought you were speaking about the body.
There's a problem with that testimony, isn't there? The testimony about the view through the fence.
No, there isn't.
Well, there's a problem that's been brought to your attention, isn't there, Detective Furman?
No.
When discussing this event in the preliminary hearing and talking about the glove, your tongue slipped and you said them, didn't you?
No.
You've examined that in the transcript, haven't you?
Yes.
And you know it's been played on video to the jury. The word them is clear.
Yes.
That is a slip of the tongue.
No.
I'd like to return to the Kathleen Bell letter. Did you say to the lawyers who were trying to prepare you that you never use that language?
I wasn't asked, sir.
Did you tell the lawyers you never use the word nigger?
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled.
It was never asked.
I'm asking, do you?
Objection.
That is vague. Rephrase the question.
Do you use the word nigger in describing people?
Same objection.
Presently,
Yes.
overruled.
Have you used that word in the past 10 years?
Not that I recall. No.
You mean if you called someone nigger, you've forgotten it?
I'm not sure I can answer the question as you phrased it.
I want you to assume that at some time since 1985 or 6, you addressed a member of the African American race as a nigger. Is it possible you've forgotten that act on your part?
No, it is not possible.
And you say under oath that you have not addressed any black person as a nigger or spoken about black people as niggers in the past 10 years, Detective Furman.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
So that if anyone who walks into this court and quotes you as using that word in dealing with African Americans would be a liar, would they not, Detective Furman?
Yes, they would.
All of them, correct?
All of them.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Prosecutors are furious that their star witness is being so harshly treated without supporting evidence. To the defense's disappointment, the judge rules that the detective can no longer be questioned about the allegations in the Kathleen Bell letter until witnesses back them up.
The witness is excused, but will be subject to resolve.
The prosecution next summons the lead cop, the 26-year veteran, Philip Van Adder. With Darden doing the direct, the detective goes over his actions and reasons for each of them. It all makes sense, it's all routine, it's all professional and objective. Then, cross-examination begins.
Detective Van Adder. Detective, you applied for several search warrants in this case, did you not?
Yes.
And, Detective, a search warrant requires an affidavit signed under penalty of perjury, does it not, sir?
Yes,
Yes. And now, that requirement is so that an independent magistrate can make a determination as to whether or not a search warrant should be issued. And it doesn't rely on the police to rely on their own instincts. Isn't that correct, sir?
yes, sir.
And now, in filling out this search warrant, you indicated to the magistrate that you were told that O.J. Simpson had left on an unexpected flight to Chicago. Isn't that true, sir?
I didn't say I was told that.
Oh, you reported that, didn't you?
I did write that in the warrant, yes.
Well, that wasn't true, was it, sir?
I found out later the information was incorrect. That was based on Arnell Simpson's response that morning and Cato Kalin telling me that he had had a call from Simpson saying he was going to Chicago.
Well, Detective, you filled out an affidavit for a search warrant at what time, sir?
About 7:30.
I didn't hear what you said. What time did you fill out the affidavit for the search warrant?
I started that approximately 7:45 in the
At
morning.
7:45, is that right?
Yes,
And what time did you present it to the magistrate, sir?
it was signed at 10:45.
10:45. Now, isn't it true, Detective, that at 6 o'clock in the morning, your own handwritten notes indicate that you were told by Cato Kalin that O.J. Simpson left on a pre-planned flight to Chicago to see Hertz. Is that not true?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you took O.J.'s blood sample, you were at a place called the Parker Center. Isn't that right, Detective?
Yes, sir.
Is that the main headquarters for the Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes,
And that is a place, and you use a word by a DR number. Is that police parlance for obtaining a division of records number?
yes,
Is that something that's very easily obtained and very regularly obtained?
that's correct.
You simply walk down to the clerk and you ask him for one. Isn't that right?
No, that's not true.
Well, how do you get a DR number, sir?
The DR number has to come from the Division of Occurrence. That means this DR number had to come from West LA Division.
So you have to go to West Los Angeles to get a DR number, sir?
Or telephone.
Detective, is it your testimony here that you couldn't walk downstairs to in the Parker Center, go to the clerk, and ask them to call the West Los Angeles Center and get a DR number?
Well, of course I could have done that.
Well, tell me something, Detective. How long would that have taken?
10 minutes maybe.
How much time?
Probably 10 minutes time.
Now, there's an evidence locker at the Parker Center to store blood evidence in, is there not?
Yes,
And there are refrigeration facilities there, isn't there?
yes.
There's a criminal laboratory that's run by the police department. Where's that located?
It's on Vignes Street. It's called Piper Tech.
I see. And how far is Piper Tech in miles from the Parker Center?
Approximately a mile.
I see. And how far is the Parker Center from the Rockingham location?
Approximately 20 miles.
20 miles?
Yeah, approximately.
Now, Detective, the evidence that you collected from Mr. Simpson, the blood evidence, is that very sensitive evidence?
Yes, very sensitive.
Well, tell me something, Detective. In all your years as a detective with the Los Angeles Police Department, have you ever taken a suspect's blood evidence from the Parker Center to a crime scene?
I don't know. This may have been the first time. I can't recall ever having done that before.
Detective, in earlier testimony, you noted the importance of securing the crime scene in order to prevent the contamination of evidence. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Did you ever return to the Bundy crime scene prior to the tape being removed?
Yes, I did.
I see. And at Bundy, did you ever walk into any areas containing potential evidence while the crime scene was still secured?
It's possible at one point, yes. Maybe I did.
I see. Did you ever walk into any actual blood evidence while the crime scene was still secure?
No, sir.
No. You're
No.
sure of that? Your Honor, may we show the witness a photograph?
Have we marked this?
Yes, sir, we have. Detective, can you identify the people in this photo, sir?
Yes, I see three people. That's myself, Lieutenant Rogers, and criminalist Dennis Fung.
And can you identify the person who's standing on the blood-soaked sheet in this photo?
Yes. That's me.
No further questions, Your Honor.
At the start, prosecutors think they have an open and shut case. But OJ's defense team steadily sows doubt as they dissect the authorities' procedures. The blood evidence, however, seems to prove overwhelming guilt. Overwhelming, that is, until criminalist Fung takes the stand and remains there for 2 weeks. Defense attorney Barry Scheck succeeds in having the criminalist admit repeatedly that evidence and procedures at the crime scene risked contamination and corruption. Most stunning of all, Fung can see the glaring drop of blood on the rear gate of my home in a photo taken on July 3rd. But he cannot, in a similar photo taken on June 13th, find that same drop of blood. Scheck's question, "Where is it, Mr. Fung?" echoes around the globe, courtesy of the more than 1,000 reporters covering the trial. Eventually, prosecutors try to shackle OJ to the single most compelling piece of evidence. They summon Richard Rubin, a former executive in charge of manufacturing with Aris Isotone.
Mr. Rubin, in your opinion, how many size extra large, black in color, Aris Isotoner leather light gloves would have been sold by Bloomingdale's during 1990?
Between 200 and 240.
Okay. How many would have been sold in 1992?
There may have been 50 pair in black extra large.
Okay. How about in 93?
Twice as many.
About 100?
Yes.
Okay. How many would you say were sold from 1982 through 1990?